teaching mathematics equitably to all students. We should hold the expectation that all children can reach mathematical proficiency and that high-level performances must be attained regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, social-economical status, or linguistics background, including students in special needs and gifted. Operating under the belief that some students can't do mathematical ensures that they won't have ample opportunity to provide otherwise. When designing instruction, we are trying to fill in the gaps that students are missing. Make sure to design instruction with different learning strategies. Teaching for equity is much more than providing students with an equal opportunity to learn mathematics. Instead, it's attempting to attain equal outcomes for all students by being sensitive to individual differences. Essential in making decisions about how you can adapt instruction to meet individual learners' needs is the use of accommodations and modifications. An accommodation is a response to the needs of the environment of a learner. It does not alter the task. Modifications change the task, making it accessible to the student. Well, you may have students start with two separate triangles instead of having composite shapes. Then find the shaded region and then compose a composite shape of rectangles. This would be scaffolding of the lesson and a way to ramp up to the original task of composite shapes. Response to intervention, RTI. This approach emphasizes ways for struggling students to get immediate assistance and support rather than waiting for them to fail on high-stakes tests before they receive help. Multi-tiered models are centered around three interwoven elements: high-quality curriculum, instructional support, interventions, and formative assessment that capture student strengths and weaknesses. As you move up tiers, the number of students decreases, the teacher-to-student ratio decreases. The intensity of the intervention increases. Tier 1 represents the core instruction that is used with all students based on high-quality mathematical grade level. Tier 2 represents students who did not reach the level of achievement expected during Tier 1 instruction. Students move up to Tier 2 should receive supplemental targeted instruction. Tier 3 may include comprehensive mathematics instruction or referral for special education. Explicit strategies, teacher-led instruction on specific strategies. Also, after you assess students so you know what to target, use a tightly organized sequence from modeling the concept or strategy to prompting students through the model to practice. The use of self-questions can help students structure the entire learning process from the beginning to the end. Options could be: read and restate the problem, draw a picture, link the problem to previous problems that are similar, write the problem in mathematical sentences, act out the problem, carry out operations, check answers with another approach. Concrete representation encourages learning through movement or actions with manipulative materials to semi-concrete representations of drawings or pictures and learning through abstract symbols. Also, you will see visual models and concrete representation as needed or as students begin to explore new concepts or extensions of concepts previously learned. Students with special needs benefit from other students modeling and supporting. This notion is that students learn best when taking on the role of an apprentice working with a more skilled peer or expert. When students use Think Aloud, they demonstrate how you might accomplish a task while verbalizing the thinking and reasoning that accompanies the action. This process involves talking through the process and identifying the reasons for each action while doing the problem. Centralize attention. Face students when you speak to them and use gestures. Avoid confusion. Word directions carefully and specifically and ask students to repeat them. Create smooth transitions. Ensure transitions between activities have clear directions. Help students remember. Memory is often not a strong suit for students with disabilities, so help students with memory aids. Have explicit attention to vocabulary and symbols is critical throughout each lesson. Make sure to use friendly numbers. For example, instead of using $6.13, you can just use $6. Vary the task size. Fewer problems to solve. Some students become frustrated with the enormity of a very large task. The visual display. Find ways to put one problem on a page or increase the font size. Repeat the time frame. Give additional reminders about the time left for exploring the material, completing the task, or finishing assessments. Ask students to share their thinking, think aloud, or think, pair, share. Emphasize connections. Provide concrete representation, pictorial representation, and numerical representation. Pose carefully phrased questions to help students connect representations. Adapt delivery modes. Incorporate a variety of visual materials, images, examples, and models. Emphasize the relative points. Support the organization of written work. Provide tools and templates so students can focus on the mathematics rather than the organization of a table or a chart. Provide examples and non-examples. Help students focus on characteristics that differentiate the examples from those that are not examples. Propose alternative products. Provide students with options for how to demonstrate understanding. Encourage self-monitoring and self-assessment. Students with disabilities often lack skills in self-reflection. Consider feedback charts. Help students monitor their growth by charting progress over time. Consolidate the ideas. Create or have students create study guides that summarize key mathematical concepts. Provide extra practice. Use carefully selected problems, not a large number, and allow the use of familiar models. Valuing a person's cultural background is a set of intentional actions that communicates to the students. I want to know about you. I want to see mathematics as a part of your life. I expect that you can do a high level of mathematics. In getting to know a student, we access their funds of knowledge, the essential knowledge or information students use to survive and thrive. Mathematics is considered the universal language, but that is not the case. Conceptual knowledge is universal, but procedural and symbols are culturally determined. The example in the PowerPoint. On the left, the students learned division in the United States, where you write down everything, you show all your work. On the right is done in another country. The thinking process is the same in division, but the multiplication and related subtraction are done mentally, and in the United States, you show that part. Culturally responsive mathematics instruction includes attention to mathematical thinking, language, and culture. It is not just for recent immigrants, it's for all students and all types of background. Culturally responsive instructions stay focused on the big idea of mathematics and help students engage and stay focused on those critical areas. Make sure using task-worthy group work, emphasizing multiple representations, incorporating students' justification, and presentations are features of the classroom that support equitable opportunity to learn mathematics. Have students incorporate opportunities to share their definitions and to discuss the meaning of the task prior to engaging in solving it. Students' mathematical identity includes his or her disposition towards mathematics and sense of competency as learners and contributors in the mathematical classroom. Attending to a student's identity has a powerful impact on your development in equitable teaching practices. As the teacher listens to students' contributions during small group, during later discussions, the teacher can attribute ideas to individuals, saying that this relates to the strategy that the student used. Researchers and teachers have found that telling stories about their own lives or asking students to tell stories makes the mathematical relevant to students and can raise student achievement. Have students demonstrate correctness through reasoning instead of answering Yes, that's right or wrong. Give choices for how students will engage in the problem instead of demonstrating processes for solving the problems. Allow students flexibility and choice in solving which problems. Effective teaching establishes a classroom environment where everyone feels their ideas are worthy of consideration. It takes as many as 7 years to learn academic language, in which the language specific to the content area, such as mathematics. Academic language is harder to learn because it is not used in a student's everyday world. Learning a student's language is one way you value his or her cultural heritage. In a mathematical classroom, a student can communicate in their native language while continuing their English language development. Consider having students work in small groups. Having students discuss their problems in their preferred language. When you have small groups, make sure you pair students with the same language in each group. Have students work on their language goal and their mathematical goal at the same time. Dual objects, such as students will analyze properties and attributes of a three-dimensional solid. Students will describe in writing or orally a similarity and a difference between two different solids. Intentional vocabulary instruction must be a part of mathematical instruction for all students. There is strong evidence that teaching a set of academic vocabulary words intensifies across several days using a variety of instructional activities. Have students use personal math dictionaries, graphic organizers, games focused on vocabulary development, mathematics, word walls, skit, poems, songs, foldables are all ways for helping learn vocabulary. Building on prior knowledge, building backgrounds takes into consideration native language and culture as well as content. Consider using appropriate visual aids to help students understand the tasks you want them to solve. Comprehensively input means that the message you are communicating is understandable. Modifications include simplifying sentences, structure, and limiting the use of non-essential or confusing vocabulary. Discourse, or the use of classroom discussion as a means to make sense of mathematics, is essential for learning. Revoicing is a research-based strategy that supports student participation, using gestures and visuals, inviting students to share and justify, and asking other students to respond to EL's ideas. The use of cooperative groups is a valuable way to support ELs. Group work provides an opportunity for students to use their language. When grouping, make sure you place all Spanish-speaking students with Spanish-speaking students, English with English, ELs with ELs. Makes them feel more comfortable and not being left out. Teacher use curriculum compacting to give a short overview of the content and assess students' abilities to respond to mathematical tasks that would demonstrate their proficiency. Allowing students to increase the pace of their own learning can give access to curriculum different from grade level to content while demanding more independent study. Enrichment activities go in depth beyond the topic of study to content that is not specifically part of your grade level curriculum, but is an extension of their original mathematics. By raising the level of complexity or pursuing greater rigor of content, possibly outside the regular curriculum, or by connecting mathematics to other subject areas. By presenting open-ended problems and investigations, students can use divergent thinking to examine mathematical ideas, often in collaboration with others. Students can demonstrate their knowledge through inventions, experiments, simulation, visual displays, or oral presentations. Often need to have the power over events by having a stake or say in what is happening. 4 traits found in resilient individuals: social competency, problem-solving skills, autonomy, and a sense of purpose and future. Make sure you encourage students while they face frustration and confusion. The use of games, brainbusters, and mysteries make math irresistible. High-achieving students tend to suggest that their failures were from a lack of effort and see the failures as a temporary condition that can be resolved through hard work.